Monday morning, folks, and welcome to a brand new episode of Fimet Mondays. Last week, gold has zoomed in, um, especially on Comex, right up to 3,500 levels. It's interesting that you see that spike in Comex, but you don't see the spike in US spot gold. We definitely know that this can be attributed to the confusion over tariffs that are being applied on 1 kg gold bars that are imported into the US, right? Can you give our viewers an entire background on what was this confusion regarding tariffs on gold? Where do we stand on this matter as of today? And is how is this going to play out as we enter the coming week?
There was panic on Friday and beginning on Thursday night because of the fear that the US would impose a 39% tariffs on Swiss gold bars coming into the US. The background to that is that in around mid-July, the American lawyers on behalf of MTB, which is a subsidiary of MKS PAMP of Switzerland, asked for a ruling from the US Customs and Border Protection Agency as regards what the official interpretation would be on gold imports of 1 kilo and 100-ounce gold bars from Switzerland into the US. And very surprisingly, an officer from the US Border Customs and Border Agency said that they would not be exempt from tariffs, and they would theoretically have a 39% tariff applied. So that was a letter that was published on the 31st of July. Well, it was sent to the lawyers of MTB, MKS PAMP on the 31st of July, but it only became public knowledge in the Financial Times in an article last Thursday. And as soon as that article was published, it created global panic in the gold market in Switzerland and London and New York. And what that meant was that the price of the gold futures price in Comex rose sharply, signaling the risk that that tariff would be imposed and that it might even be backdated to April. So there was a huge divergence in the price between the Comex US price and the London spot price, up to $100. And you could see that December futures on gold GC on Comex went above 3,520, whereas the gold price in LBMA spot was around like 3,380 max. So there was a huge divergence. But then, interestingly, it got even more bizarre and unprecedented because the White House then came out and said that there will be no tariffs on gold bars and that they would President Trump would be issuing a executive order imminently to clarify that and to say there's no tariffs. So really, what happened was it was sort of a storm in a teacup, but it was hugely there was a huge amount of uncertainty for about 24 hours, and it hasn't really played out fully because until we see the executive order that's been alluded to by the White House, it will still be uncertain. The fear of these tariffs was specifically to do with um, gold bars being imported from Switzerland into the US, and mostly for settlement on Comex or for delivery to Comex warehouses. And about half of the US gold imports come from Switzerland. And so, what the price spike was reflecting was that there was fear that there would be tariffs imposed on Swiss gold imports, and that uh, because Swiss gold imports make up a huge percentage of the Comex inventory, that the price was reflecting that eventuality.
Over the weekend, and late last Friday, we've been seeing there are new developments in the Iran-Israel conflict. Can you give us an understanding of what has transpired and how this might potentially impact gold prices this week?
Israel is threatening now a ground invasion of parts of the Gaza Strip, which it currently hasn't fully invaded, including Gaza City and various other pockets where there's large population still. And a lot of countries now in the international community are warning against that and saying to de-escalate it, even like Canada, Germany, UK, maybe bar the US. But because that risk is flaring up again, and other countries such as Iran and Turkey are warning against it as well, and Iran even going as far as saying that they would re-escalate their like missile attacks against Israel if that goes ahead. So that all is happening right now, and that is also affecting or keeping gold prices high because, as we can see, the gold price is nearly 3,400. And I think that's that geopolitical risk is now resurfacing.
Finally, Ronan, in terms of your price view for this week, do you think gold on the US spot will be able to break above 3,400 and maybe reach 3,450? What do you think, in light of the developments that you spoke about? What is the trajectory, possible trajectory for gold this week?
Well, I think if the US White House comes out with an executive order clarifying that there are no tariffs on US gold imports, that will immediately be reflected in US Comex gold prices, and which will go down a bit, and that could in turn trigger a fall slightly in the London International Spot gold price. But with all those other geopolitical happenings circling at the same time as we talked about, it could be a bit of a push me, pull you situation. So I think there's going to be a big fight, a battle at the 3,400 mark. And I would say if that executive order comes through, that we probably wouldn't go very much above 3,400 and it could break a little bit below that. But if there is no clarity on that Swiss gold tariff issue, then it could go into the like 3,420, 30 level on the spot price. But we'll have to really see. It's kind of $1 billion question, and there's no definitive answer.
Thanks a lot, Ronan. Thank you for that. Let's see how the markets play out. Till then, thank you so much and goodbye.